My name is Chris McNeil. I own Metro Bonding, Outlaw Bail Bonds, and Mobile Bonding here
Yay!
in Mobile, Alabama.
Well, it's good to have you here, Chris. I'm glad we were able to get our schedules together and sit down and talk. So I think this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, before we get started on the actual business, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, were you born here in Mobile and go to high school here, all that stuff?
Born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. Went to Shaw High School at that time. It was the Shaw Rebels, so graduated from Shaw High School in '93. Went to the Army just for a short period of time and came back home.
Nice. And college?
A little bit at Bishop State.
So what did you do after you got finished in the military?
Bail bond business.
So you went straight into it.
Yep. I was in the bail bond business before I went to the Army. My bail bond career actually started in high school.
That's okay. I would not have thought that was the case. I mean, we haven't spoken about this, so I'm finding this out, for the first time as well.
It's part of the story. It's a good story.
Yeah, it just seems like it would be really difficult business to get into as a young kid. But we'll get there. So no college, married,
Yes.
kids,
Yes.
and any dogs? Anybody else that you care to mention?
Well, my wife would be upset if I didn't mention the dog because we just got a brand new dog. We lost a dog. We had a dog that had cancer and just recently had to put him down a couple of weeks ago. My wife, we also just recently got a new dog, got a little basset hound.
Aw.
And she is in love with the dog, and he has not discovered that the ears belong to him, so it's been pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, I love basset hounds. They're so cute, and they're just, most of them are friendly, but they've got the biggest paws.
Yes.
And they're like a big dog, but kind of compact.
Yes.
Yes. Made for four-wheeling or something.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I love them. They have such a great disposition and everything. So, well, was bail bonds your first job? It wasn't your first job.
No.
So, what was your first job?
Like back in high school?
Very, very first job.
My first real job in high school would have to be the skating. Well, no, I had two jobs really. One, there was a catfish restaurant in Mobile at Wolf Ridge and Moffett Road. It was Bosun Joe's. So I worked at the catfish restaurant, and right up the street from it was the skating rink, Skate World.
Okay,
So
I want to hear about the skating rink.
The skating rink was pretty interesting too. It was a cool job. That's where all the kids hung out. It was a really good job. It was a fun job. And it was the place to be, especially during the summertime. And then anytime that school was out, the skating rink had Soul Night.
Okay.
And on Soul Night, the skating rink capacity was 1,100. And on Soul Night, we always hit capacity, 1,100 people.
Wow. So were you DJ or door or skater or?
We did everything. I was DJ. I worked the skate counter. I worked the snack counter. I grew up with Kevin and Melissa. They were twins, and there was kind of like a little bit of competition between me and Melissa, kind of wanting to be like the assistant manager. And I think the thing was, it was kind of cool back then is the assistant manager had a set of keys that he clipped to his belt, and it was either I was going to have those set of keys clipped to my belt, or Melissa was going to have those set of keys clipped to her belt.
But it didn't make any other difference outside of that, I'm sure. But it's funny, still haven't let that go, have you?
No, I still want those keys.
That's great. No, the reason why I keyed in on that is because I remember back in the day, and skating was like a really popular thing, and people were Friday and Saturday nights. It was no questions. You were going to the skating rink, and I'll still go. Occasionally the kids will have like a birthday party or something that they'll go to for a friend or something, and still go and still be bopping around, but. Man, it just brings back memories. So
well, the funniest thing to me about the skating rinks, I worked there for a long time, and for a long time, I would run into somebody out in public, and they would recognize me, and they're like, "Where do I know you from?" And I'd bring up the skating. Yeah, it's the skating rink.
Yeah.
But now the skating rink has been so long ago, and now I've been in bail bonds for 30 years. Now that's transitioned. So now I run into people, and they're like, "I know you from somewhere," and then I'm making a joke like, I got you out of jail, and they're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, you're the guy they don't want to recognize in the grocery store. So
yeah, but it's been good because I was at Veets, 6 or 7 years ago during Mardi Gras. I had a girl come up to me, and she's like, "I remember you. You got me out of jail. Thank you so much. and I actually had to put her back in jail, and she came over to thank me for putting her in jail because it was finally, that was the breaking point for her where she was able to get her life together.
Wow.
And she was so appreciative. And I've only had that conversation a couple times. And then I've had the opposite conversation where I was eating lunch with my daughter at Mellow Mushroom, and I had a guy come over to me, hey, you got the guy out of jail that killed my son. And that was not the best conversation. And Gord, I'm sitting there with my daughter, so and I've only had that conversation happen one time. So,
wow, yeah. I mean, I know it's not. It comes with a whole bag of other things that people might not think about.
Right.
So, but go back to the skating rink thing. Are there any lessons that you still remember from that job? Oftentimes, I feel like we're kind of formed in those early years.
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, whether it was the skating rink or working at the catfish restaurant, Bosun Joe's, the work ethic was different then. I wanted to work, and the people that I worked with wanted to work. Not saying we didn't have a really good time doing that job, but we took care of our responsibilities, and it was just a super positive experience. I still look back on the time working at the skating rink, and I miss that. And I actually went back to the skating rink maybe 15 or 18 years ago, and I tried to buy the skating rink.
Oh, wow.
And I lost out on that, and the city ended up buying the skating rink, or not the city, but the Mobile Water ended up buying that location, knocked it down, and now they have storage or whatever they're using that area for now. Yeah. And, not only was it the skating rink cool, but right beside the skating rink at that time was the radio station. So it was really cool to go back between those two and hanging out. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, so you alluded to the idea that you started bail bonds really early in life. Like how did that happen?
Good question. In the school system here in Mobile, I was at Shaw High School, and Shaw High School had DECA, which was a work marketing program that they had for juniors and seniors that if you worked, you left school early, went to work, and you got credit with that for this marketing program through the school. I think other schools called it FBLA, but at Shaw High School, it was DECA. So my job was the skating rink and Bosun Joe's. My best friend at the time was Josh Fleming, and he had a hard time finding a job, and he finally gets a job. His uncle was a bail bondsman downtown Mobile, and he got a job at the bail bond company. I knew nothing about bail bonds, had never had an interaction with a bail bond, growing up. And I tell this story to a lot of my customers now, or people when they ask about the bail bond business. When I was growing up, we might have had a Magnum on our refrigerator for the dentist office or something like that. My customers now have my magnets on there. But I knew nothing about the bail bond business growing up. So my buddy Josh gets a job through his uncle, who was a retired police officer here in Mobile working at a bail bond company. Okay. So he would go down there and fiddle with it. So one night we were at a party, and Josh was one that he was never going to leave early. He was
closing it out.
He was closing it out.
Yeah.
And he catches me off guard. He's leaving early. And I was like, dude, where are you going? He's like, I'm going downtown. I'm going bounty hunting with my uncle. I was like, I'm in. I want to go. I'm 18 years old, in high school, knew nothing about nothing, except for he's going bounty hunting. I wanted in on that.
Right.
So I go downtown with him, and I meet his uncle. I'd never met him before. His uncle was Ronnie. And his uncle's like, hey, y'all want to do this? I was like, hell yeah, we do. Yeah. He goes and pulls a file out. I didn't know what the whole plan was. Josh didn't know what the whole plan was. He gives us a file and says, hey, go get this chick. 2 high school kids, 18 years old, never done this a day in their life, and he gives us the paperwork, the warrants.
No guidance at all.
None.
Gosh.
And the girl was a stripper at Roosters and supposed to be at work. So me and Josh head to Roosters. We go, still not knowing what we're doing, go to the front door, get met by the bouncers. We think that we're in charge, and we tell them that we want to get so-and-so. They immediately, I'm sure they recognize that we're young, dumb, and have no idea what's going on. Right. They tell us to get our ass off the property. We go stand off the property, looking at each other, not knowing what to do, trying to get a hold of his uncle downtown that we cannot get a hold of, and that was my first adventure bounty hunting.
Wow.
Just thrown out there, thrown to the wolves.
That is, so did you end up getting her at another? No. So yeah, there was no saving that situation.
No.
So what's it like? I mean, I think a lot of people listening to this are probably just going to have questions about like, what's the daily like for a bail bondsman?
It's a very unique job, and I'll say this about bail bonds: it's been very, very good to me, and I think I've been very, very good to bail bonds. Most people don't understand what the bail bondsmen do, but our number one job is accountability. There are people every day that are charged with crimes, whether it's a traffic ticket where they didn't show up and appear for court, or the very worst, they've been charged with murder, rape, robbery, something along those nature.
Sure.
I do believe in the constitutional right to bail, and so those individuals generally appear before the court. They have a bond set with the court. Sometimes those individuals cannot make those bonds without the assistance of a bail bond company. That's where one of my companies steps in. We post a bond. And I think this is the most important part, is we're guaranteeing the appearance of that individual. And the appearance is so valuable because the only way the court system can move forward is if that individual appears in court.
Yeah.
There's been so many times that I've got individuals out of jail that have shoplifted from a small mom and pop store. They're counting on, on Friday making their payroll. Yeah. And then when you have somebody come in their store that has taken something, that is taking away money from that bottom line, and they're having to call the police in, have that individual arrested, it's probably got to be a bad feeling that, once you had that happen to you, but then you appear in court for your day in court and you're able to prosecute this person, and you look on the other side and that person's not there.
Yeah.
So the bail bonds, we're able to conduct business to ensure that these individuals show up every day. Now, there's time and time again that those individuals don't show up, and that's when we have to transition, and we have to go out there and get those individuals and bring them back.
I mean, everybody, is it like, this isn't like Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Dog the Bounty Hunter I've done his show a couple of times.
Wait, what? You've done his show a couple of times?
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
He's a friend of mine, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, but, we look at that and we think, well, this is reality TV. But, I mean, you do actually have to go out and find these people at times and, like, bring them back against their own will?
I think what the difference is, because a lot of people, when they have missed court, they realize that they've missed court and they know they have screwed up. When they're actually in the very beginning of the process, when they're getting arrested with the police, they may not agree with the situation, what they're getting arrested for. But when I had to go out and find them, they realize, hey, they know that they messed up. And a lot of times, it's not as bad, and they're upset about the situation. They apologize. We're able to, put them in handcuffs and come on back downtown. But I've had individuals that have left here. I've been to New York, I've been to California, and I've been everywhere in between. I just came back from New Mexico 2 weeks ago looking for an individual. And, that was kind of a little heartbreaking. That was my first trip out of town in 30 years where I didn't bring somebody back. But since that 2 weeks ago, we've been able to get that resolved.
So, and I guess, just the mechanics of this, and forgive me, because I know nothing about bail bonds. Again, never been arrested, never had to use one. But so when you go out and you have to go to New Mexico to find this guy, is that really just to kind of preserve the money that you have on the line, or do they have to do they have to reimburse you for coming and getting them, or how does that, because that's additional expense that you're having that you weren't accounting for.
Yeah, so let's break down the whole process. Marcus goes to jail tonight. Marcus is in jail. Generally what's going to happen, mom, dad, brother, cousin, somebody, friend's going to call and say, hey, look, Marcus got arrested today. He's in jail. We want to get him out of jail. Those family members would come to my office. They're going to sign a contract with me. Let's say your bond was $10,000 today. Mm-hmm. They're going to sign a contract with me guaranteeing that $10,000 if you sky up and you end up in China. So they're going to pay me a fee. Generally, that fee is 10%.
Okay.
So they pay me $1,000 to borrow my $10,000.
Yep.
I post your bond, give you a court date. As long as you go to court each and every time, everything is good. I've paid my $1,000. At any time that you fail to appear in court, the court's going to send me notice and say, hey, Marcus failed to appear in court, and I have this much time in order to find that individual and bring that individual back. There are sometimes I can reach out and say, hey, you had court yesterday. We need to get this back on the right track, and I can resolve it that way. And there are some individuals, Marcus says, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm gone. So at that point in time, I have to transition, and I have to count on the individuals that guarantee that contract and say, look, you signed this bond. You guaranteed me that Marcus would be in court. Marcus had not showed up for court. So now I need two things. Either I need Marcus or I need the money for the court. 99% of the time, they're going to give Marcus up.
Yeah, because they didn't have the money to begin with.
If they don't give Marcus up, every once in a while somebody gives me a run for my money, and then, we're essentially, I guess, a private detective and having to put the clues together to find out where you go or where you went or where you're hiding at and how I can find you to bring you back. I think my advantage to that is no matter how smart I am or how dumb I am, I can make 1,000 mistakes. I just need you to make one mistake so I can catch up with you, or I need you to have that second girlfriend. I need to let the wife know, hey, Marcus got this side chick. What side chick? Let me tell you where Marcus is at.
Yeah, and then it starts to close in on that person really quickly, I would imagine.
Yeah.
No, it's just interesting because I know that it's a necessary part of, our economy here, but I've just never known how it works.
And let me say this too. I was, like I mentioned, I just came back from New Mexico. My wife was not happy about me going to New Mexico. I was going to be gone for a few days and whatever. And she's like, why can't the cops go get them? Mm-hmm. So I had to lay out a couple examples. I was in Ohio 2 or 3 years ago looking for an individual. Had them where I thought they were locked down and I knew what house they were in. So anytime that I'm out of town, I'm going to go check in with the local authorities and say, hey, look, I'm a bail bondsman from Alabama. I'm here to get Marcus and let them know what's going on. And those guys were super cool. And they say, okay, but our policy here is we have to go to the house first and check out everything and see if we can resolve it. I didn't have a choice in the matter. I had to hang out at the police department while they went and did that. So they go to the police department. They go to the house, knock on the door. Girlfriend comes to the door. They ask for Marcus, and she's like, he's not here. They said, okay, and they left. They come back to me and report, hey, we went there, we knocked on the door. She says Marcus is not there. So I said, well, I'm clear to go there now, correct? And they're like, yeah, you can go over there. So I go over there, knock on the door. Of course, I have a different story. I tell her who I am, why I'm there. But that's when I start lying. I said, look, they're over there reviewing the body cam footage. I know you said Marcus is not here. We saw Marcus come in here a while ago. They're typing up the warrant for you right now. Unless we can get back quick enough with Marcus. She's like, come on in. We go inside the house. There's Marcus hiding inside the house, get him cuffed up, go back to the police department, say, appreciate y'all's help. We got him. We're heading back to Alabama.
Wow.
Not saying that happens with all police departments, but that does happen. On this person I was just in New Mexico for, this person in New Mexico also had a connection with the mother in Lucedale. We had spoken to a Lucedale police officer that's a friend of ours. He's like, hey, I'll drive by there. I'll check it out. He drove by there for a week. He said, nothing's changed. We go over there. It's definitely changed. There's more vehicles there, and there's a vehicle there with New Mexico plates.
Oh, my gosh.
They're probably there. We knock on the door, go in there. There they are.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. So, you obviously have the ability to work within the United States. Is there licensing and stuff like that for bail bondsmen?
Yeah. Like I said, I've been in the bail bond business now for 31 years. About part of my duties, I have multiple duties inside the bail bond industry, but we have a bail bond association here in Alabama. So I was elected president of the association 6 or 7 years ago, and every year we work on bail bond legislation. So 6 or 7 years ago, the Bail Bond Association passed a bill that we now have licensing and education requirements in Alabama. So as of 7 years ago, we do have those requirements. And since that time, we've been able to be successful in the legislature and pass a couple other bills. And matter of fact, when I leave here today, I'll be back in Montgomery as they finish the legislative session for this year. And I have a bill up there tomorrow that hopefully is on the last step. And clears the Senate tomorrow, as this is the last week of the legislative session for this year.
What's the legislation for? Can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
talk about it?
Well, this year, Alabama has been one of the cheaper states in order to get into the bail bond industry. The association passed a bill a couple years ago where we upped that amount to $50,000. Now, this bill that we have is going to up it to $100,000. We also have a regulatory board that sits here in Alabama. We're going to expand the board. We're adding a sheriff and a lay person. We have an apprentice license, and we're expanding the length of the apprentice license, and just making a couple of technical changes in the law.
Professionalizing the industry, I guess, in a way.
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
making sure there's some guardrails for people that may want to go in.
Absolutely. I don't want to say it was the Wild West 7 years ago, but there were some individuals in the state of Alabama, and there are some individuals in different states that do not have licensing requirements that probably should not be in the bail bond industry. Mm-hmm. In the bail bond industry, is, like I said, it's a different and unique profession where I have the ability to release individuals from jail that have been charged with some of the smallest crimes and some of the worst crimes. And on the backside, I have the ability to go out and put hands on individuals and take their liberty away and place them in custody. So it's something that is very much needed to have licensing requirements, have education requirements.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if you have somebody going and chasing after someone, you'd like for them to have some training as to how to go about that without getting themselves in trouble, getting hurt, getting the person in hurt or anything like that. So, no, it's interesting, and I guess you answered the other question, which is one of the major requirements is you got to have a roll of cash to get this started, because the jail doesn't work on credit, I'm sure.
Jail does not work on credit.
Yeah, they're not going to go, well, you look like a nice guy. So now go back to when you just got started. You told us the story about not being successful, but do you remember any of the first successes that you had that made you think, hey, man, there might be something to this? Is it just the adventure, or is there like...
Well, when I first started, it was two of us that we worked essentially in partnership at the bail bond company. And let me tell you, my first weekend, I met a guy. The bonding company I worked for was Best Bail Bonds, and I worked for Terry and Ernie Anderson. And Ernie had been in the bail bond business previously, and he had worked with some individuals previously, and he was bringing one of those individuals back. So 1 week on the job, they tell me that they're bringing in Neil. So, it's my big day. I'm meeting Neil, and we were out on the porch just shooting the shit. And I'd never seen Neil before, didn't know Neil, whatever. I was told he was a pretty big dude, and so I was interested. So I see Neil come around the corner. Now, granted, this is how big Neil was. Neil was probably 6'4", probably 450 pounds.
God bless.
Neil's wife, Scylla, was probably 6'1", probably 350 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And they're rolling in a Geo Metro.
Oh my gosh.
The windows are down.
Wait, pause. For those of you that are under the age of 40, Geo Metro is about the size of this coffee table. Yeah. Go ahead.
I see them make the turn. The windows are down, so I see half of Neil hanging out on his side. I see half of Scylla hanging out on her side, pulling up to the bail bond company. And that was the first time I met them. And of course, they were a couple. But Neil had previously been in the bail bond business, like I said, and he'd also been in the bail bond business with Ernie. I'm young, have no experience. I'm 1 week in, and these are the guys that kind of taught me the bail bond business, along with, and which I always have to point this individual out because he's one of my favorite people in this world, even though he passed away a few years ago, was Bubba Murray. And Bubba Murray owned Mobile Bonding, and that bonding company at that time was 50 or 60 years old.
Oh, wow.
And, at this time, I'm 21 years old. Bubba's probably 65 years old, so Bubba's ancient. He's old. But Bubba kind of took me underneath his wing, taught me a lot of stuff, and he took me to my first Bail Bond Association meeting when I was probably 24 or 25 years old. And this is a story I tell a lot of times when I give these classes, and I tell about how valuable your association is, no matter what industry that you're in. But the first time I went to this association meeting, I go in there with Bubba. Bubba's 65 years old. Everybody that came in this meeting, and there wasn't but 10 or 12 of us,
sure,
but they're all 65 years of age plus.
Right.
They're coming in on walkers, on oxygen. it didn't take a rocket scientist to look, hey, we got to have a little new blood. There ain't too much left here when they're walking in on a walker and oxygen.
Yeah.
So he got me interested in the association side and taught me a lot about advocating for your industry and taught me a lot about the bail industry.
That's really cool that you had some people early on that really kind of took you under their wing. Because I
Yes.
would imagine, first of all, there was no internet back then.
No.
And there's probably not any books at the local library on how to become, bail bondsman.
Right.
So I would imagine they saved you a lot of heartache and headaches as well. So,
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be blessed to be around these individuals and get some guidance from them and get a little bit of knowledge, and so I was very fortunate in that.
That's crazy. So, obviously you still enjoy it?
I do.
Is there ever a dull moment?
There's never a dull moment. There's always something going on. We hear the craziest stories. Sometimes we get to participate in those stories when we're out looking for individuals.
I'll bite. Give us one of your crazy stories.
This is one of my favorite.
Okay.
I do fault in one part of the story, and I'll tell you about that when I get there. I make all types of bonds every day. There are some bonds that you don't make every day, and there are some bonds, a lot of times, they are not what they appear to be.
Okay.
So I made this bond 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a rape charge. I have never, ever made a bond for rape that it was a real, actual, true rape.
Okay.
It was either a breakup in a marriage, it was over a child custody, and it was being used in court, but I've never done a real one.
Right.
So I get this individual out of jail, and I take him in the back and for him to tell me the story so I know what's going on. And I try to give them a little guidance as we're getting ready to enter into the court system, which attorney we need to go see and what's going to do so we can get the best possible outcome for our client.
Wow.
So I have him in the back, and he's telling me the story that he was married during the course of the relationship while he's married. And I don't want to call this other person the side chick because the wife's involved because they have a threesome going on.
Okay.
So during the course of their relationship, they have this threesome going on. For whatever reason, he divorces the wife.
Okay.
He divorces the wife, but he marries the side chick. And he keeps on having the threesome. Now, the problem occurs is wife number one gets lonely because she does not have 100% of his time. And let me tell you, I know the story is true because I read the emails because she was pumping out these emails to him and he's forwarded them to me, so I was able to verify the story.
Sure.
So he's married to chick number 2 now, and chick number 1 is lonely because she doesn't have 100% of his time because he's transitioned over to the side chick. So she is at home one night with the girlfriends. They're on the wine and plotting revenge. And they came up with, we'll make up a fake rape allegation.
Oh my gosh.
Also in her email, she states that she didn't realize doing this, one, that it was going to be a warrant that comes out of it. She didn't realize the marshals were going to show up at his address and kick his door in. She didn't realize that once he was in jail, he would lose his job. And all this trickle-down effect from these events that happened.
Wow.
So I make the bond, and I skipped the most important part.
Sure.
The reason that she comes up with this is she's lonely now. She starts eating and gaining weight. Once again, this is in her email.
Right.
And this is where I fault in the story. She gains weight, and she gets to the magic number, which they told me she gets to 250 pounds.
Okay.
This is where I fault in the story. I didn't ask how tall she was, because that could make a big difference if she's
Yeah.
6'1", 6'2",
No.
or she's 4
Yeah.
foot.
Yeah.
But at 250, they kicked her out of the threesome.
Okay.
So when they kicked her out, she gets mad. That's when she calls the girlfriend over, and they come up with this. We'll make up this fake rape allegation, and we're going to punish him.
Right.
And, probably every couple of years, I get someone out of jail for rape. It goes to court, and it's not what it is. So,
Yeah.
that
That is absolutely crazy. Because like for guys, that's something that's hard to shake.
yeah.
And so, it's kind of like, it's almost like it's known, like, oh, you're never going to get, never going to be able to get out of this one, And I do have I've had friends be accused of rape before. Fortunately, I've never been, but
Yeah, I had the kid just a few years ago. I think he was
wow,
a Spring Hill student and went out one night, went home with the girl. She accused him of rape the next day. Within a week, she started changing her story. She was that very vocal. The DA's office tried to essentially reel her in. She got on the news that she was not going to be reeled in. That case went back and forth for a couple of years, and finally, when it made it to court and everything came out, it was not what it was supposed to be, and luckily that kid was found not guilty.
yeah,
But it's changed his life for the rest of his life.
yeah. It definitely changes the trajectory in a big
Yeah.
way. So. Well, if you were talking to someone that wanted to get started in running just a regular business, not necessarily bail bonds, but what's the one bit of wisdom that you'd impart to them?
I think the for me, I was extremely dedicated, and when I first began working, I put in 100 hours a week. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I wanted to succeed. I surrounded myself with people that were successful. I think that's probably one key is if you're running around with people that are not successful, it's not going to be good for you. And I never really thought about that until a few years ago. I was with a friend of mine, and she made a comment about the other people that she's like, all these people that you hang out with are so successful. And I never had really thought about it, but that was just my people. I mean, that's, I guess I gravitated to those people that were successful, and and we're part of our surroundings. So
Yeah.
I've always been, I don't want to say attracted, but I've been attracted to those people that are successful. I mean,
Yeah.
every night at home.
Believe me, I get it. Like, I mean, you have friends of all walks of life, but, being able to talk to somebody that has the same kind of life experiences.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, if you're not a business owner, you have no idea what I do.
Yeah. If you're not a business owner, you don't understand the day-to-day struggle. But when you set those goals out there, I mean, probably the biggest thing that gives me the most pleasure every day is I have a list, and as I'm knocking those things off that list, I love scratching those things out. I think back to I saw Admiral McRaven speak one time, and he was the commander of SEAL Team 6.
Okay.
And he said success starts first thing in the morning by getting up and making your bed.
Yeah, I think, it was a video that made it.
Yeah, and I love that, and it's all those small little goals that you accomplish throughout the day or throughout the week or throughout the year. They snowball. And
I have a theory, and my theory is this: that a lot of some of the stuff that we're experiencing now is because I think that in life your discipline builds on itself, and then when you have a disruption like COVID, where everybody's told to just stay home and not do anything, it kind of lets the air out of the tires, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's why after COVID, everybody was kind of like, we're just trying to get things started. And of course, the economy's not all that great. So it's kind of like, you're trying to get, traction and you're in mud, And so,
I have to give my son a little credit too, because he put a little wisdom on me too, because there's so many times that I hear these people that have been super successful where they're waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. They're the first ones at work at 4:30. And we were all sitting around the table one day, and just out of nowhere, he says, well, the second mouse gets the cheese.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like time of day, I think that's all, gone. Those are ideas that used to work when you had to like call somebody before their secretary got there.
Right.
Right. I worked in DC. Even at 8 o'clock, there were guys that had been there several. If I got in at 8 o'clock, there were guys that had been there since like 6 or 6:30. Because the military guys are just different. I mean, they just like getting up early. They're weird.
Well, and I had that same mindset because, like I said, I was in the military where we got up at 4:25. They woke us up at 4:25. We had to be outside at 4:30. 4:31, we were running.
Yeah.
And that was the life I lived for 3 years. And then I said, as soon as I get out, I'm gonna keep on doing this. Day one out, I didn't run.
So just hustle.
Yeah.
Just keep hustling is what your advice is. Are there any? Well, you mentioned people, but outside of, I mean, are there any books, podcasts, or people or organizations that have been helpful in moving you forward? But you've already named a couple of people, and obviously the organization that you work for or that you are president of. But are there any outside of that that you've gotten some good business advice from? Not necessarily bail bonds, but just in general.
Well, and it's not just the business advice that keeps us going. It's having the impact, I think, also on people's lives. Um, as you know, I own local piano bar,
Yeah.
and this was just 4 or 5 years ago. And there was a couple nights that we would have stand up comedy, and we'd have different comedians come in and whatever. And I'd be outside shooting the shit with them, whatever. And they were, they talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
And there was a guy out there talking one night, and he was talking about when he got arrested, and he had been arrested 10 years before that, and how it changed his life, because when he was arrested in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, he's like, there was a bail bondsman made his bond, and he remembered her name, which was Miss Ruby. Miss Ruby is my right hand man in the bail bond industry. We talk 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So I immediately told him, I told him two things. I said, one, hey, don't you realize I'm in the bail bond business? And two, I told him I knew Miss Ruby and I've known her for a long time. But his story that he was telling that day, that how he had been on drugs and a life of crime, and that's not the life he wanted to live, but he had been arrested by the police, made bond. But after he made bond, he sat with her for a couple hours, and she just talked to him heart to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it registered to him, and it helped him change his life, and it greatly affected him, and to the amount that he remembered Miss Ruby's name and remembered everything about her.
Wow.
I called her when we got through talking, and I said, hey, Miss Ruby, and I don't remember what the guy's name was. She didn't remember him, but, I can't tell you how many times I've been able to have a conversation with somebody where I think I've been able to help them out, and being able to help somebody has inspired me to do better and better in my business, and that's been a huge effect.
Are you, and this is not a question that I normally ask, but do you have any idea what you're driven by? You understand the question? So, like, intrinsically, I feel like I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
It's why I do this. It's why I do the classes at the chamber. It's, why I put out all the information that I do. I mean, do you have like a leaning? It sounds like you do care about people. You're not just doing this because, the money's, fantastic. I don't know if it is or not. But, so what drives you? Because it seems like it's something other than.
Well, first of all, I believe in karma. Like I said, I've been in the bail bond business for a long time, and I do want to help people, whether it's inside the bail bond industry or just every day.
Yeah.
And I think everybody wants to be a better person, and I think we're a better person for two reasons. One, when we're out there helping somebody, and two, when we're learning from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think even though sometimes when we're trying to help somebody and it doesn't work out the way we think it should, I don't let it deter me. Got another little bail bond story.
Okay.
Probably 10 years ago, this is Christmas time. I'm going down my steps at the bonding company as I'm leaving. This gentleman stops me, and he's probably 80 years old, and he's telling me that his house had been broke into. We're a week or two from Christmas. They had stolen all the presents, and it was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Business had been really good, and I wanted to help. And I gave this guy $500 to go out and replace everything that he had lost, and hopefully we could have a good Christmas for his family. Fast forward a year later, at the same time, I owned a tanning salon out in Sims, which is 30 minutes west from downtown. We're Christmas time again. I run into the same dude telling the same story, trying to get some money out there. And of course, he didn't recognize me. And I was just thinking, man, I've been got. And you just can't let that deter you. And that's something that's a challenge for me every day, being in the bail bond business, because one of the largest scams that we have in the United States right now, there's individuals out there every day that are calling family members and scamming them that they're with a bail bond company and they can help secure the release of their loved ones. And there's individuals that are just giving them money left over right and not realizing what's going on.
Wow.
And then it's too late and they've been scammed.
I didn't realize that. So even like within the real estate industry, cash being sent to the wrong bank and stuff like that. I mean, this is, everybody has fraud kind of.
And let me expand on it just a little bit, because I had this happen 5 years ago. I had the jail call me from Pensacola, Escambia County Jail, and there was a grandmother out there that she had thought that she had made bond to get her grandson out of jail. She explained everything to the jailers at the jail. They had no record of any bonds being produced for her grandson, so they called me to see what's going on. Anything that's outside the state of Alabama, when we do transfer bonds into other states, I'm the only one that handles those in my office. So I knew I had no dealings with this individual, but I wanted to help her get down to what had happened. So I started talking to her, and at this time I had a gentleman that worked for me, Donnie Smith, and she told me that she had spoke to Donnie. She gave me Donnie's phone number. She had Donnie's email address. She had everything. I said, well, when she gave me the phone number, I knew it was not Donnie's phone number. So I put her on hold. I said, let me do some checking and see what I can find out. So I waited a few minutes and I called that phone number, and when they answered the phone, they said bail bonds. So I immediately started I'd already looked at and found somebody in jail and gave that name as I was trying to get somebody out of jail. So during the course of the day, I had several conversations with this guy trying to get as much information as I could. Now, at this time, I'd been in the bail bond business for 20 years, and I've been on 1 million phone calls with individuals in jail.
Yeah.
So I recognized background noise as being in jail. So I'm on the phone with this guy, and I finally tell him who I am, and I've heard all the jail background noise on the phone, and I said, dude, you're in jail. And he admitted to me that he was in jail, that he was in prison in Texas. He was serving a life sentence.
Wow.
He said, one, they can't catch me. He said, two, if they do catch me, what are they going to do to me? But most of these prisons have access to the library that has internet. Most of these jails are public information sites. They've learned the lingo. They have everything in front of them, and they're able to sell their product, and they're getting money transferred to them through Cash App or any type Venmo or whatever. So this guy contacted Grandma and said, hey, I can get little Joe out of jail. Send me this money, and it's a done deal. And there's so many people that would do anything to get their loved ones out of jail. They're extremely, extremely vulnerable. They send that money, and before they realize it, they've been got.
Wow, dude. Well, if we only did this podcast for that person that's listening that might get that call or email, I mean, that's, I didn't realize that was taking place. So, 12 rapid fire questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite type of music?
Man, I love all types of music. And my new favorite music and my new favorite musician, I got to give him credit because he was in Mobile yesterday.
Okay.
Afro Man, because
Afro
watching
Man.
the trial with the lemon pound cake. So
That's funny.
But that's one reason I did the piano bar, and I had a previous bar is just for it was something fun to do, and I love the music.
Yeah. No, that's great. What's your favorite type of food?
Man, I love food. And here's the way you got to ask that question is what would be your meal if you're on death row? What's that last meal?
That's your typical way of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I go the complete opposite. I don't know if I want the steak or if I want a hot dog. I love them both. and I love the cheap pink weenies, the cheapest hot dog.
My go-to meal used to be macaroni and cheese with hot dogs cut up in it. And I haven't had that in so long.
You know what the number one meal is on death row? The number one request is?
What's that?
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of understand. I really was, and before moving to Mobile, I was really a Popeyes fan. I do love their chicken, but the Popeyes in Mobile, not so much. Sorry. Back to this. Favorite restaurant in Lower Alabama?
Hands down, the Mariner, Grand Mariner.
Oh, in Pensacola?
No, Dog River.
I don't know about that one.
You're missing out. Best seafood in town. They have great entertainment. Probably a half mile down from the River Shack.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
Grand
Mariner.
Nobody's ever mentioned that to me before. Look,
Well,
I'm a foodie. How are you people letting me miss out on this restaurant?
It's a hidden gem. Going back to when I did the Dog the Bounty Hunter show.
Yeah.
On a Friday night, they're like, hey, we're all going to go out to dinner. We got 30, 40 people. And I was like, hey, we're not going in anywhere that we're not going to wait for an hour or two. Obviously, she's passed away now. Beth's like, I don't wait no time.
Yeah.
So I put on my thinking hat, and I thought about the Mariner. And, of course, I was able to get 30 people in there on a Friday night because they have a little party room.
Favorite city outside of Mobile?
Favorite city outside of Mobile? Probably New Orleans. I love the food over there.
Gosh, so good.
Yeah.
Man. A city you want to travel to but have yet to visit.
I've been very fortunate. I've been all through the United States, and
Anywhere outside of the country?
I probably outside, still inside the country. I've not been to Hawaii yet, but I've probably been everywhere in the continental United States. I've been to Alaska. Probably Hawaii is probably the only place. Now, granted, some of these are short-lived, where I'm going in town, grabbing somebody, and leaving. But I've been a lot. I've been fortunate. I've been to a lot of places, and Hawaii needs to be the next stop.
Hawaii, okay. City you want to? No, that's what I just asked. What comes to mind when I say guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. I think I have a bunch of them. One. My guilty pleasure is the piano bar. I love the sing along in there. I love seeing everybody having a great time. I love being at home with my wife. I mean, this is kind of sounds cheap or whatever, but man, I love being around my wife. I love being around the family.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, man.
I love Mardi Gras. Yeah. I sit on the board of my Mardi Gras group. I mean, that's a guilty. My guilty pleasure is I just like to do stuff. I mean,
you don't sit still much, do
I don't. And I passed it on to my daughter. I always told my daughter she was the queen of go.
Right.
When she was little, if the boogeyman would have broken into the house, she wouldn't have been scared. She'd have said, "Hey, can I go spend the night with you?" She's the queen of go. And you could ask her right now, "Hey, we're going to go across town," and she's going to say yes. And you not finish the sentence. "Hey, we're going to go across town and smell some shit."
Yeah.
She don't hear. She just hears that we're going, and she's going.
It's an adventure. It doesn't matter. Dogs, cats, or none of the above.
Dogs.
Summer or winter.
Summer.
Favorite movie or TV show.
True Lies.
Favorite color.
Blue.
And favorite cereal.
Favorite cereal. Man, I just had some, and I'm not having it in a long time. Honeycomb.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like to eat it dry.
Oh,
Is that weird?
No, I do that too.
Yeah.
Before I put the milk in there,
Yeah, I mean, that one's a really good dry one.
Yeah, it is.
So, and not all of them are that way. Not a rapid fire question. Feel free to expand on this. But what are you most thankful for?
What am I most thankful for? Man, I'm just thankful for every day. I mean, I get up, I go and do my thing. I'm thankful that the Lord has blessed me and it has allowed me to go out there and be successful. Every day I'm trying to be more successful. It doesn't necessarily work out every day, but besides I'm out there able to help individuals. I'm able to pass on a little bit of knowledge. I've been really blessed in my association to be elected president. I get to stand in front of 700 people, pass on some information, help. Every day I get so many phone calls from different bail bondsmen throughout the state and get to help them do their job better. I've been very successful with that, and that has bled over to the national group, and now at this time I'm number 2 at PBUS. I got recently elected to the executive vice president of the National Association.
Very cool. So who's the guy that helped you when you got started?
Bubba Murray.
You have taken just an ember from Bubba, and you've mentored probably more people than he could have ever imagined his impact would have. Do you realize that?
And I give him credit for that. When I was standing before the National Association 4 or 5 years ago, I was able to win to have the group come here for one of their conventions, and I had him up on the big screen, giving him props for everything that he had done for me and to get me to that point. And I thank God every day for Bubba and him aligning us and it's been.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
No, it's really, because you really just don't know how people are going to impact your lives, and that one was obviously a really big one, not just on your lives, but on all the lives of the people that you're helping too. So, all right, tell people where they can find out more information about your services.
Well, first of all, I need them to go out and get arrested. So
if
they'll support their local bail
bondsman, make that suggestion.
And take
Chris.
Take a trip to jail.
No.
But if for some reason things don't happen as they should, and one of your loved ones ends up in jail, you can find us on Facebook, find us on the old internet. But I promise you, your loved one's going to be calling you, and all you got to just look me up, give me a phone call.
Yeah.
You
At least now they've heard your voice and they know what kind of guy you are, so they know they're dealing with somebody who's legit. So, well, I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. Wrap up, any final thoughts or comments?
Hey, I look forward for this. So many times I've seen you posting where you're looking to have somebody come in. I said, man, I want to go sit down with Marcus. I got a story to tell, and I could sit here and talk about it for forever. And I'm thankful for you for inviting me today. And
thank you.
I'm going to give you that get out of jail free card, so your next time it's on the house.
There you go. Now, hopefully, Lord willing, I never need your services. Although I do like to go to the piano bar every once in a while. So, but no, I'd love to hear more stories. Maybe we'll get together for lunch or something, and you can share some more. Because I mean, I just find the whole thing interesting. Like I wasn't an avid watcher, but I did watch Dog the Bounty Hunter. And I wasn't sure, like, is this like over the top? Is this like what it normally is? And I'm sure it was kind of a little bit of both. But at the same time, it was very intriguing to me, the whole kind of how that whole thing works. So you've kind of, pulled back the curtain a little bit today.
Well, let me say, when they first called me and said, hey, we're going to do the show, I was like, cool. And I'm talking to the producer.
Yeah.
Their exact words, I'll never forget it. We want the hardest stuff you have. I was like, cool. Yeah. So I got everything arranged, and I had to have these files. I had to have a file for myself, one for Dog, one for Beth, one for Leland, and one for the producer. So it was a lot of work, and I had 12 people lined out, had all these multiple files for each individual, so we're out there ready to go. We get there, our first day, we're going through all the files, and the producers are disqualifying every one of them because the crime was too violent. It was a bad area. It's like, what are we doing? And
yeah, because you get the opposite impression that it's like, oh, give us the rotten scoundrel that we have to go duke it out with.
Yeah, so we did that for 2 or 3 days. We went and got people that were just low-level offenders, and then finally Dog spoke up and said, man, we got to have something better than this. I said, I got better stuff. So he was able to go to the producers and say, hey, because I'm not knocking Pritchard, but I said, look, I got some places in Pritchard that we can go that I promise you, we're going to find some drugs, we're going to find some illegal guns, we're going to be able to kick some doors in, we're going to, I said, that's what the television, that's what we want to see.
They don't want you going and catching the 80-year-old shoplifter.
No.
So anyway. Well, Chris, I appreciate your willingness to sit with me and share your journey as a business owner and entrepreneur. It's been great talking with you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.